Where do you guys think house music originated?
House music.
House music.
In our house. Are you gonna tell me something like that because it's called house music?
On a beat.
I think maybe.
On a boom.
I think house music originated
Originated in South. That's what I know. It originated in South Africa.
Right?
Do you know something else? Noticing with us and house music is that I've always been listening to house music to a point where I thought house music originated in South Africa. I don't know.
House music is so big in South Africa that you'd be forgiven for thinking we were the originators of house music. But like, where does it come from? What is it? And why are we so in love with it? We all have one preference and taste when it comes to music we listen to. These choices are often logical, but for fans of house music, that choice is much deeper. It doesn't have a destination, but it will take you on an endless journey. Remember, not everybody understands house music. It's a spiritual thing.
What is house music? House music is a style of music that was created at a disco called the Warehouse in the early 70s, mid to late 70s.
You know, when house music was introduced to us in the, say, 80s, the late 80s, we were already here. So it's an influence that comes from your disco dance scene.
House music originated in America, I think Los Angeles, Chicago, Chicago. You understand?
There are guys like DJ Pierre, David Morales, the late Frankie Knuckles, the godfather of house, Frankie Knuckles.
And at what point did the soundtrack of The Warehouse evolve from disco, South Soul, Philly International into house? And what was really the catalyst for that?
If to look back on it now, it probably became more visible by the time I opened up the power plant, by the time I left the warehouse and opened up the power plant on my own. It was pretty well defined then. I had already met Jamie, I'd already done my first remix, and around me people like Steve Silverly and Marshall Jefferson, these guys were working on tracks of their own. And a lot of them had put out a lot of tracks long before I put out anything.
Right.
Yeah. But that's what they were just a lot of tracks.
It came from more black guys. And even the groups back then. 10 City. 10 City was on the forefront. Marshall Jefferson, Byron Sting. The vocals.
That's the way love is. That's the way love is. That's the way love is. Lovers leave without reason. Feelings change just like seasons. Love, nothing's the same.
The origins also, it has been an underground thing in the States, house music. From Chicago. The first guys that came through. Yeah, that is what people say, it's the birthplace of house music, but even your soul music now, originates from the UK. It actually started there. There were groups like Bomb the Bass. It was also underground there. There was a guy he called himself Hit House. There were groups called the S Express, and the sound was a bit different. They called it Jack to the sound of the underground.
If you know khale no snap producer at house in South Africa, never say.
Before we started doing our own production, we were importing dance music overseas.
Back then, house music, when it came into the country, we dubbed it international back then. We didn't have a name for it. We called it international. And only later we called it house music. But back then we just said, no, it's international.
Around 1996, we had record shops. What happened, we used to import music, the dance music in SA.
There are guys like Tim White from House Africa. He opened the shop in 1989 and he was one of the first importers of this international sound house music into the country. And that is where guys like Kanyani and Da Vinci used to go and buy records.
Guys like Mosquitoes, guys like Vinda Vinci, we used to import by House Africa, and we'll buy music. Watan City, Little Louis Vega, and that's where those were the Tony Humphries. Those were the forefathers of house music.
And Tim White, DJ Christos, and that is how these guys would come into the shop every day. And today, Vinny Da Vinci is a shareholder of House Africa.
You're talking about legends.
You're talking about people we can't see. The first time I shared stage with Christos was in 1998. When the first time I saw Christos, like it's really Christos, he used to have the ponytail. Serious.
Record shops. I own 2 record shops because back then I realized there's a gap in the market. So for the Bloemfontein guys to cater for them, I opened a record shop, and then I spoke to Tim White. They would supply me with records, but obviously you get it at a cheaper price. Then you just put your markup on it.
And Ganyanis, Nasty Nev, Positive Case, the Bob Mabena, they used to get that music at the record shop when they used to play the music already young. And Lobet and News, they used to play the music at the radio stations.
Because it wasn't even big on radio back then. Guys that pushed it in the radio, on the radio scene in the 90s was Bob Mabena came, and then you would have most of your house shows at night on weekends. And then Glenn pushed it in a big way and fresh when they came. When YFM came in 1997, they played a lot of house music, and Glenn was still doing the right. He played a lot of house music. So that just put house music in your face. My late uncle was one of the pioneers, Oscar Renzi. He worked for Capital Radio, which was independent in the Transkei back then. Because of the apartheid era, they could play house music. They were on medium wave, Capital Radio 604. They pushed house music back then in 89. And who else? See, there are so many guys that are not mentioned or getting credit.
I started loving music on the late 80s because normally I would take when I tape the cassette to go pet for Quattrage, and they'll always on Saturday play that music. I'm jarring music system, and I'll go there and listen to music level.
Pet for Quattrage has been there since
the 80s. He's been doing LP since the 80s. Look, I knew this guy was recording cassettes. For in the 1980s, but I didn't know him. but I knew there was a guy called Pet 4, and everybody was going there, getting their music there, you know. So every time when they like, hey, try to go Pet 4 to tape, I will always go to his house, do the music, get cassette. So that's why I knew that house music was there, because that time it was quiet, you know. They were playing your Mdus and your Athas and your Chigos, huh? But I think I was introduced into house music by the late 80s, maybe let's say 88, 89, 90s. That's where I was introduced into house music, listening to those cassettes.
Nearly the compilation. So Naricha music weapon. And music weapon then I was Roger. And the site tip out. Naricha commercial. Never commercial.
That's how we got Arab new producers, and that's where we started doing our own compilations. So through compilations we grew from that. You know, we did compilation. I did compilation. We were importing music overseas, compiling the songs, releasing them with our biggest labels.
Compilation is a little pushing. If we try a city, offers they don't want to produce by normal. Find small letters.
I think I was in primary school, kind of fresh out flavor to beginning. 99, I was in grade 4. But before that, not only house meets Gate Crasher, Glenn Lewis. My mom bought me the cassette,
Okay.
And I've just always loved house music and songs like Summer Days, Fresh House Flavor 4.
Well, summer days again. I think about summer days. Anyone now, China for you.
There's an original song, I forgot the name of the title, but I know the artist is a jazz musician called Pat Mithen. You listen to the original sound, the same song. It's just that Nick Holder added, maybe it was Fruity Loops at the time, I don't know, I speak under correction, he just added a faster beat to it, but it sounds exactly the same. It's the same song, example.
I think one of my all-time favorite compilations has got to be Small Sweet Sounds, the late Iggy Smalls. It is, right? Yeah, I mean, that album had almost every song on that album was a hit. Nalipo Love we had, Sad Piano, Do for Love, Do You Feel, Love Symphony, Someone for You. Like, it was just the most amazing album ever.
Prove that I want you. Come on now, prove that I need you. Oh, darling, more you try, 'cause it's you. Yeah, I know that it's love we have. Oh, what a love we have. Sure that it's love we have. Oh, darling.
Whenever you compile any song, obviously, first of all, you need to contact the label that you want to compile a certain song from Dennis Ferrer, and you pay a certain fee, maybe like 10,000, so you're gonna have the rights or exclusive rights to put it in your compilations. That was the best era, but now, the era we're in now, we can create our own things. We have to grow as individuals. You know what I mean? We need to. Money has to come to us. You know, always we send money to the guys who produce songs overseas. Yeah, that's okay. That's where we started. But now we can have our own elements. We can create our own elements. I can go to studio. I can work my magic and make my own song.
And look at check and never leave you, Nelly. The compilation, Nelly, fresh. Then what? Fit and mouth. Garreke. go commercial and West Sivas. One of the commercial, but we are on another level. Before we were deep house, then deep house meaning Jata. Anya.